Thank you, everybody, for coming today. As you know, this is a discussion about what the real impact of the proposed tax increases before us in the reconciliation bill are about. We've had two JCT reports, which, by the way, have erroneously been characterized as Republican reports. The Joint Tax Committee is a bipartisan committee and reports on a bipartisan basis to questions asked by either party. We asked the Joint Tax Committee to give us these kinds of analyses, and on their bipartisan basis they did so. The first report that they handed out was one which we asked about where does the impact of these taxes fall. The administration has been very careful to say that we aren't raising the tax rates of anybody under $400,000, but everybody in America knows that when taxes are charged, some people end up carrying the burden of those taxes. This tells us where that burden falls. That burden comes, by the way, because in the corporate tax field, the impact or the incidence of the corporate tax is passed on to workers, to capital, which means to those who own the stock, people trying to invest for their retirement in a pension plan or a 401k plan, and in price increases to the economy. The report found that in 2023, the very first year, the tax burden would increase by $16.7 billion on Americans making less than $200,000 per year. Another $14.1 billion will be borne by taxpayers earning between $200,000 and $500,000 per year. And during the 10-year period, the average tax burden would increase for nearly every income category. And when you get to the point at the end of the 10-year period, the entire burden, half to two-thirds of the entire burden of this new tax revenue would fall on those earning less than $400,000. That's the reality, regardless of the games that are being played in terms of describing what the taxes are on. The second report we asked for was where in our economy do these taxes fall? That was this report, which showed that 49.7% of those taxes will fall on manufacturers. And you can see from the chart that it goes across various other aspects of our economy. The point here is this bill will slam manufacturing. And I just point out, and I know my colleagues will get into this in a little more detail, I just point out that we worked as hard as we could back in 2017 to get our tax code amended so that we could incentivize capital formation in America, so that we could encourage all those hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars being held offshore to be brought back to the United States and invested here. And what we saw then was it happened. Companies came back to the United States, invested the capital. We got the strongest economy that we have seen in probably all of our lifetimes. Employment was up, wage increases were up, and the inflation rate was less than 2%, down around 1.5%. That's what was coming out of the effort to get capital formation back into the United States. This bill is going to slam it. There's one other aspect of this, talking about the manufacturing impact. The National Association of Manufacturers has indicated that because half of the impact of this tax will be on that industry, that this would be a reduction of our gross domestic product by $68.45 billion, a reduction of employment by 218,000 workers, and a reduction of employment income, worker income, of $17 billion. These numbers show very graphically where the burden of this tax falls, contrary to the arguments that this is just a tax on tax cheats. The bottom line here is that this tax is dangerous for America.